Hey guys, so I just want to make a video and kind of just walk through our adoption process, the home study process. The adoption process is such a huge beast that it's hard to talk about all of the adoption process in one video. So I just kind of want to walk through what the home study process looks like. Looks like for us. I was about to say looks, but we are through with the home study. So, and this is kind of for me to look back and for our child to look back and see all the things that we did to bring them home. And so this is just a little video just to walk through what the what the home study process looks like. And before I get too deep into it, I need to pull up my computer because most of it happens on the computer. Hello. So Brandon and I knew that we were going to adopt whenever we were getting married or while we were dating. And so whenever the Lord led us to adoption, we were like, okay, let's go for it. Let's do it. And so we started the adoption process officially in February. We had some things that we had to decide on, which route that we were going to go on, domestic or international. We started out with domestic, we changed to international. And so the home study process is a huge bulk of the adoption process. And so it starts out with where our agency is Lifeline. So we got on a Zoom call with our caseworker and with our social worker and just walk through what the home study process looks like. And basically what they did is they gave us access to a case checklist, which is lots of things. It's all these things that you see on this computer is everything that we had to submit. And so it's from things like a FBI background check, CPR certification, disaster plan. If we have a fire at this house, where's going to be the meeting point? If there's a tornado, what's the safe zone? We had to watch a video. We had to watch a movie. We had to answer questions on it. We had to do some different education, which I will show you all that in a second. We had to decide who's going to take our kid if me and Brandon both die, who's going to be the legal guardian for our child. We had to get a medical done. We had to get a psychological evaluation done. We had to get our dogs and cats updated on their rabies vaccinations. We had to turn in an autobiography where we had to write a whole story about here's my life story type thing. We had to turn in our driver's license, our birth certificates, our pay stubs, we had to take a quiz on how we love and how we show love to others. We had to do some different education, which I already said that, but I'll show you that in a second. And just lots of rando things like contracts. You're probably going to see this. You're probably going to be posted on our Instagram page and Facebook page. You're probably going to experience this. Here's some things that you need to think about post-adoption. Here's some things that, just lots of different contracts that we had to sign type thing. And so it was just nonstop with paperwork for that. But we also had to do, let me find it, what we called the educational portal. And so, I have to log in, hold on. Okay, so this is what the educational portal looks like. We have different education that we had to do before the interview. These are the things that we had to do before the initial interview, and everything has different steps in it. If it'll load, hold on. So everything had different steps in it like this. All these things are different like things that we had to do. So that's what that looks like. Let me show you the next one. The second interview, we had to do that first education before the first home study interview, where our caseworker came to our house and just had an initial interview with us, get to know us type thing. The second interview, we had to do all of this education: autobiography, understanding your attachment style, and special needs education. And so these had a lot of steps that we had to do with it too, lots of videos that we had to watch, things like that. And then our caseworker came in and just like asked us different questions about our autobiography, about our attachment style, kind of gave us some things to think about for special needs and things like that. And then the final interview, we had to complete all of this stuff. This is a book that we had to read, The Connected Child. We had to go through this education about thinking about where our child, like where our child's life began, and how we need to think about how their life began is a whole lot different than how children's lives begin over here. And then this education was talking about preparing our family for adoption, how we need to prepare the grandparents and the aunts and uncles and the cousins, and all these things about how we raise our child is going to look completely different than how you might have raised your child or are raising your child. This education was transracial adoption, thinking about how like we're a family, but we're not going to look like a typical family that you see. Me and Brandon are both Caucasian. Our child is not going to be Caucasian. And so thinking through the pushback that we might get, the comments that we might get, how it just might be hard being a transracial family. And then it got into post-adoption things where whenever you get home, these are some things that might happen. Don't be discouraged, that type of thing. So it was lots of education in that sense. Lots of videos that we had to watch. I mentioned a movie that we had to watch. We had to write an autobiography. We had to read a book. Our family had to read a book. And so it was just lots of things that we needed to do for the home study. And so after we completed every bit of that, we then had our home tour where our caseworker came through and just looked through our house, make sure that was safe, met all the animals, make sure that the animals were safe, which they are because they're little angels. And so that's all that we had to do for the home study. I say all. It took us a long, long time to do the home study. And that's mainly because we started it at a bad time for us. Me and Brandon is really, really busy. Okay, pause. Setback. We officially started the process in February of 25. And we announced that we were going to adopt over Christmas or Thanksgiving to our family, over Christmas to the rest of the world. And then we before we announced, we had already gotten accepted by our agency. And so then we officially started the process in February of 25. And we did most of the stuff that we could do as fast as we could do it. By the time the summer hit, which the summer is the most exhausting part of my job, we already did 2 of the interviews. So we already did most of the paperwork, most of the education. And so we had 2 out of the 3 interviews. And so the last one, I was like, Brandon, we're not going to be able to do this over the summer. And our caseworker was traveling a lot. And so we just weren't going to make it work over the summer. And so finally school started back and I was like, all right, it's game time. We were wrapping up this home study stuff. And we are getting matched, if I could predict it right now. But so 2 weeks ago, so on the 13th, I think it was. Our caseworker came to our house. We had our final interview. She walked through the house. And so now we're waiting on the approval letter. She is writing, our caseworker part of her job is to write like our approval letter for me and Brandon saying that we are fit to adopt. We did all the education. We have all the paperwork that we need. Here's their disaster plan. Here, she like compiles all the paperwork and sends it to the higher ups at the agency. Our agency, Lifeline, has to approve it. They might report back to Vicky, our caseworker, and say, I need this. She'll ask us for it. We'll send it. That might come up. If it does, it's whatever. And then after our agency has absolutely everything that they need, they will send it off to India for approval. And once India approves it, we will be home study approved. And so that is what we're waiting on. We're in the waiting process. The ball is completely in our agency's hands, and we're just waiting. We're just waiting for that email of the approval. And so that is kind of where we are right now. We will not know really what the matching process will look like. I kind of have an idea, but I'm not going to share it yet. Just because I don't want to like lead anyone wrong. So that's what our home study process is. We're ready. Our house is ready. We are just so ready to bring our little one home. So that is just a little bit about the home study process. Once we get into the matching process, I'll make another video describing that. And then hopefully whenever we get matched, me and Brandon are gonna like vlog it all, because I will want to treasure that trip literally forever. That is going to be the trip that literally changes mine and Brandon's lives. And so, yeah, I'm not gonna edit this because, let's be honest, I'm not a content creator, nor do I strive to be one, and I just don't have time to edit this video. So you're looking at the raw footage. Okay, until the matching process. Bye.